Hi everyone, I am Vaidehi. I'm an assistant professor for AML department and IoT. So today I will be telling you about big data and the introduction to big data and the components of big data. So let us start now. So what is data? Data is defined as individual facts such as numbers, words, measurements, and description of things. That is nothing but whatever you click on your internet, whatever you click on your smartphone or the laptop, each click generates data. That can be anything like numbers, words, measurements, as I said. So it can include prices, weights. So it can include whatever. That is called data. And the characteristics of data are accuracy, validity, reality, timeliness, relevance, and completeness. These are the main characteristics of the data. So, if we come to introduction of what is big data, it is nothing but the huge collection of data, the data which is very huge, that is called big data. So the data which is generated at high amount, and the data which is very high to store, and which is generating very high amount of data, that is called big data. So why the term big data has been derived is, previously in the traditional time, there is no internet in such an expansion like as today we are using. So at that time, with minimal internet, there is only few data that used to be generated, and that is very less, and that was also easy to store. But as the internet is growing exponentially these days, the data is generating a lot. So if you consider, each person is using mobile phone, like whoever it may be, from 10-11 year kids to till 90 years old persons, like everyone are using mobile phones, everyone are using iPads, smart TVs, and everything. So without internet there is no world today. So in this continuously growing internet world, there is large amount of data that has been generating. So if you consider, you are using mobile phone. So if you use WhatsApp for 1 hour, how much data that has been generating? If you scroll Instagram reels for half an hour, how much amount of data that has been generating? Like it is uncountable. It is some terabytes, petabytes per month per each user will be generating. So in that, across the globe, how many users are there and how much data has been generated? It is like some exabytes or petabytes, terabytes of data, which is huge amount of data that is generating. So to store that data, it is impossible like previous method where the data is generated only limited way. So as the data is generating very huge, the term big data has been derived. So as the data is huge and the data is big, the term big data has been derived. So there are few basic example of big data, like New York Stock Exchange is one of the example of big data. And if you search Netflix, YouTube, so these all are the examples of big data only, because it generates huge amount of data. So previously there are only structured kind of data that used to generate, like in the traditional method, in the traditional computing system, there was only structured data that used to generate, that is to be stored in rows and columns in a proper table format. But in today's world, as the internet has been grown exponentially, the structured, unstructured, and semi-structured, all the kinds of data is getting generated. So I will tell you what is structured data, what is unstructured, and what is semi-structured data. So what is structured data? Structured data is nothing but it is generated in a proper format and it is stored in rows and columns in a table. That happened previously. Right now, unstructured data is generating is a lot amount of data. So what is unstructured data? Unstructured data is nothing but it include images, videos, audios, texts, everything. Like everything has been included. So that is unstructured data. And semi-structured data is XML data. So that is called semi-structured data. So as a large amount of unstructured data has been generated, so in the big data is possible to store this unstructured data. So these are the different kinds of data in the present trend. So there are different characteristics of the big data also. Those we call as 5 V's. 5 V's, not volume, variety, value, veracity, and velocity. So these are the 5 V's, the main 5 characteristics of the big data. So let us discuss each V. Volume. The name of big data itself is related to an enormous size. Big data is a vast volume of data generated from many daily sources such as business, machines, social media, human interactions, and many more. So this volume itself, it is saying that the amount of data that has been generated, like in any way, in the social media, in the mobile phones, in the TV, in workplace, businesses, like in each and every domain, the data, how much volume of data has been generated, that is the volume, the first characteristic. And the second one is variety. So big data can be structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. As we discussed previously, there was only structured data that has generated, but right now, like structured, unstructured, semi-structured, all kinds of data has been generated. That is called variety of data. And the third one is veracity. Veracity means how much data is reliable. That means how much data is really useful. We are generating lot amount of data per each day, but in that, how much amount of data is really useful, that is called veracity of the data. And the value of the data is how the value is stored and how is it analyzed. So that is called value of the data. And the next one is velocity. Velocity means speed in the other terms, if you know. So velocity plays an important role compared to others because how speedily the data has been generating. So the data is generating very fastly, right? So how speedily the data is generating, how speedily an user is generating the data, that is called velocity. These are the 5 characteristics of big data. So why big data? Why companies are using big data these days? So mainly companies want to target their customers to increase their sales and everything, right? So how can they increase the sales with big data? So as we discussed the characteristics, the volume of the data, the variety, the veracity, different kinds of characteristics we have discussed, right? So all those characteristics play an important role here. Why? Because if you take an example of GoAbibo, okay, or Trivago or whatever it is, so you are searching, you are searched saying that okay, give me the cheapest places from India to travel abroad. Then it will give you multiple options, right? Like 10 or 11, like multiple options it will give. So you just close the tab and you forget that you just browsed it for some time pass or something, and next you have get into another work. So when you open YouTube or when you open Chrome or whatever you open, Hotstar or anything, the same kind of advertisements will get to you. So if you observed or try to observe from now, so whatever search you have done related to that search, you will get advertisements or you will get promotions or you will get some offer coupon deals, everything related to your search. This all was happening because of big data. The data is stored. Whatever you are doing on the internet today or whatever you are doing on the social media or the internet today is watchable. Someone is watching you. So the data is getting stored and the companies are targeting those type of customers only. So if I search for some Netflix comedy movies, then all the suggestions will be related to the comedy movies only because they are targeting me as according to my search. So this way the companies can target their users and they can also find out the flaws in their company or in their organization. So what people are searching for, what they are not able to provide. So consider I am a company, so people are searching for few things which I am not able to provide. So if I with that I can see their search queries or I can see their search engines and everything, and I can think okay, people are expecting these things from my company which in I am lagging. So I can provide those things as well to promote my sales or to promote the growth of my company. So in this way companies use big data, and big data is very much useful for the companies for the promoting their sales and for their profits and everything. So what are the importance of big data? Why big data? Why do we use big data? Because as I said, Everything you do is watching, someone is watching. So social media listening, time saving, cost saving, market insights, customer acquisition, and innovation. These are the importance of big data. Like these are the very important factors of big data. So we have different careers in big data. If you see data engineer, architect, admin, scientist, BI analyst, ML engineer, and like many more. I have provided only few things. Like there are many more options in the careers in big data. Okay. So there are different technologies to handle big data. So as we did as I said previously, handling big data isn't just about having a hard drive. One hard drive or a room of hard drives or a apartment of hard drives are not enough to handle the big data. It is impossible to handle the big data in that way, because how much data we will store in a hard disk, how much data we will store in a system, how many systems we require. So that is difficult to handle. So it's about the main technologies, means it's about managing the 5 V's, the 5 characteristics of the big data. That means we can handle the big data. Okay. So there are different technologies to handle the big data as well. And one more thing I want to discuss here is parallel computing and distributed computing. So parallel computing is nothing but one brain, many hands model. So there will be one single computer where multiple people are working on that. Where coming to distributed computing, many brains, many bodies. There are multiple people working on multiple computers. So consider a simple example of a library. A library has lot of books. So my task is that I have assigned that to find success word. I have given 100 books, and my task is that to find how many times the success word has been there in those 100 books is the task. So how do I solve that task? Traditionally, like in parallel computing, what we do, one body, many brains, right? So those 100 books has been divided into 10, 10, 10, and 10 people were assigned. So how it was done? So one book I have done, I will read 10 books I will read, and after I left, another person will come and read another 10 books. So in this kind it used to be happen. That is parallel computing. Like 10 people at 10 different times will come and read all the 10 books and find out the success word counter, how many times each word has a success word has there in books. While coming to distributed computing, it is like parallelly people can like 10 people, those 10 people can read those 10 books parallelly, need not to wait each time. So until one person finishes reading that 10 books, and a second person will come sit at that place and read another 10 books. That was parallel computing. But in distributed computing system, we need not to wait for another person to leave. So parallelly in a single room itself, parallelly I can read 10 books, you can read 10 books, another person can read 10 books. So 10 persons can read those 10 books at the same time. So it was easy, right? To achieve the task, it is easy. Like it is time saving, it is cost saving, it is the data produced will be fast. So that is the main advantage of distributed computing. Here big data is completely dependent on the distributed computing. So big data has two main components. One is HDFS, other one is MapReduce. HDFS is Hadoop Distributed File System, where MapReduce means it is an algorithm. So, as I said previously, big data has two main components. One is HDFS, second is MapReduce. HDFS is Hadoop Distributed File System, where MapReduce is it is an algorithm to process the data. So, what is Hadoop? Hadoop is an open source framework that allows the distributed storage and distributed processing of massive data sets. So, the large amount of data is stored and processed using an Hadoop. Hadoop is an open source framework, open source software framework that allows distributed storage and processing of massive data sets. So, there are three core pillars of Hadoop. One is HDFS, one is MapReduce, and other is Yarn. So HDFS is Hadoop distributed file system, which we have discussed. So how HDFS works? So the data is divided into different blocks. So each data is stored in different blocks. In that way, HDFS will work. We'll learn in the next. So MapReduce it is an algorithm. So it process all the distributed data, that algorithm process and give the output. For that, MapReduce is required algorithm. And third one is YARN, yet another resource negotiator. That is an operating system layer. It manages resource and schedules who gets to use CPU and RAM. That is YARN. So this is Hadoop ecosystem architecture. So these are the different tools: Pig, Hive, HBase, Cassandra, Splunk, Flume, Scoop, Zookeeper, Oozy. So these are all the different tools in the Hadoop ecosystem. So let's discuss about what is HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. That is nothing but you have some 300 MB file. How do you store? So it will get stored in different blocks. So each block will store only 128 MB. Here 128. Here 128. And how much is remaining? 44 MB is remaining. That 44 MB we will store in the third block. In this way, Hadoop distributed file system work. So in each block, by defaultly, it can only store 128 MB. And the remaining in the next block, in that way, we will store in the HDFS. And there is one more important thing is HDFS is there is replication factor. By defaultly it is 3. So in the block 1 we will store one data and the same data will get replicated in second and third block as well. In the second block, whenever we store the data, that will get replicated in another 2 blocks. So the default factor is replication factor is 3 for HDFS. So why replication factor is required? Why the data has to be replicated? Because sometimes we may lose one block of data, one block. In that way, all the data will also get deleted from that node if we lose that node. So if it get replicated in other nodes, for suppose if the node 1 has been deleted or got some error or something, so the data in this will get deleted anyways. So how we will get the data in, which is stored in that node means it is already replicated in the second node and the third node, right? In the same way, we will get the data from either this node or the third node. So that is why replication factor is very much important, mainly for the fault tolerance and to avoid data loss. Replication factor is important, and for HDFS replication factor is by defaultly 3. So we call this as data nodes. Each data node will have data, like 120 MB file will be present in each data node. So these are called data nodes. This is Hadoop architecture. Master node attached to different slave node. It is a master slave architecture. So yeah, I hope you have understood what is Hadoop and why do we use Hadoop and what is data, big data, why in today's trend big data has playing an important role, and for the company's growth and everything, how big data is playing an important role. I hope you understood that, and we have discussed one component Hadoop here, and in the next classes we will discuss about MapReduce and how cloud computing playing a major role in big data and everything. Okay, thank you.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.